Hi, guys. Welcome to Own Your Essence, the podcast where healing meets empowerment. I'm your host, April DeMille, a psychic medium and a life coach specializing in grief, trauma, and toxic relationship recovery. This is a space for deep conversations, powerful transformations, and raw healing. Each week, we'll dive into soul-centered topics like psychic mediumship, the supernatural, metaphysical wisdom, emotional grief, addiction, mental health, spiritual wellness, and self-discovery. Through inspiring interviews and personal insights, this podcast is here to spread awareness, spark connection, and support your healing journey. If you're ready to set boundaries, reclaim your confidence, and step into your true power, you're in the right place. Let's own your essence together. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Own Your Essence podcast, where we get to have deep transformational conversations with some of our favorite people. I am your host, April DeMille, and today our special guest is Jim Marshall. He is the author and creator of Septemics, human development engineer, and oh God, I don't even know if I'm saying this right, polymathic intellectual. I'm going to have him correct me on that one. Okay, 1 second. Jim, I just read your introduction to the audience and I realized I don't even know if I said polymathic in the correct way. How do you say, is it polymathic?
Polymathic.
Okay, so I did say it right. I was like, I don't know if I'm even saying this word correctly. So, okay. So Jim, can you tell us a little bit about Septemics? That seems very interesting. I've never heard of it until I read your jot form. So I would love to hear more about that.
Okay. The first thing I should tell you is that I am the discoverer of hitherto unknown natural phenomena,
Okay.
which greatly aid in the understanding of people.
Okay.
From which I crafted a workable philosophic system called Septemics.
Okay.
I published it in the book, Septemics, Hierarchies of Human Phenomena.
Okay.
Septemics is a philosophical science based on the fact that many phenomena regarding humans occur in a sequence of 7 levels. Literally, the word septemics means of or pertaining to 7.
Okay.
Septemics comprises a collection of scales or sequences, each of which breaks down various human phenomena into a hierarchy of 7 steps.
Okay.
There are 35 such scales, each of which is unique, and between them, they span the spectrum of human experience, by which I mean any problem, dilemma, situation, difficulty that any person has regarding people can successfully be analyzed by one or more of these scales, usually more than one.
Okay. So when you talk about the pattern of 7, why 7? Is there a theory on why 7?
Well, first of all, there is a section in my book called Why 7?
Perfect.
And it's on my website.
Okay, perfect.
It's in the thing called Introduction to Septemics. It is a mathematical explanation.
Okay.
So if you want to read that, you can go to my website and just look up, just go down, you'll see Why 7 and explain
Perfect.
to me.
Is there a way you can
But,
give us a simple form now for people that aren't reading the book?
well, I'd have to make a mathematical explanation.
Okay.
And I don't mind doing that, but a lot of people get lost.
Yeah. No. I don't think I'm a mathematical person myself. So,
So I took 26 semesters of math and loved every minute of it.
mhm.
So I'm a mathematician, and that enabled me to discover this material. Septemics is actually a form of mathematics.
Okay. So if
But I
there,
crafted it in a way that for the reader that it's not like mathematics.
okay. So that was my next question. What about people that are not math-minded?
Not necessary.
Okay.
There are only a few scales in which it was absolutely necessary for me to explain something about mathematics in order for it to make sense to you, in order for that scale to make sense to you. And I do. And that was not difficult because I've been tutoring people since I was 14.
Okay.
So I learned a long time ago how to explain things to people in a simple way that they get.
Right. Gotcha. And so with the 7 levels, can you explain what those levels are supposed to look like for us?
Okay, well, first of all, as I said earlier, these 35 scales, each of them is unique.
Okay.
You cannot infer anything about scale A by studying scale B, which is why it has this tremendous scope. In other words, it covers everything about people. Readers have been telling me that for years. People who have read this book and I talk to them say, wow, you covered everything. And what I should do now is tell you exactly the names of those 35 scales so
Yeah.
that you can see what the subject matter is in the book.
Yeah. That would be
Of the
great.
35 scales, 24 are individual scales and 11 are group scales. So these are the individual scales.
Okay.
The scale of basic purposes, the scale of personal influence, the scale of choice, the scale of permeation, the scale of thought, the scale of identity, the scale of evaluation, the scale of motivation, the scale of control, the scale of stopping, the scale of scholarship, the scale of literacy, the scale of human ability, the scale of memory, the scale of spiritual identity, the scale of mental deletion, the scale of aberration, the scale of physical fitness, the scale of justification, the scale of belief, the scale of equanimity, the scale of attack, and the scale of reaction. And these are the group scales: the scale of relationships, the scale of life spheres, the scale of government, the scale of civilization, the scale of survival, the scale of management, the scale of exchange, the scale of communication, the scale of allegiance, the scale of sexuality, and the scale of politics. Any one of these scales by itself could dramatically improve the life of the reader. And I'll give you an example of how that might work. I mentioned the scale of motivation. One of the most important things to know about a person is their motivation. Why is this person doing this? So we go through this all the time, right? You're standing at a bus stop and some guy comes over and starts talking to you, and you're immediately thinking, why is this guy talking to me? What does he want? Does he want money? Does he want bus information? Does he want a date? See, you're asking yourself, what is this person's motivation? We all do this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very easy to deal with somebody when you know what their motivation is.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the problems in the world are because you don't know like a con man, you don't know the con man's motivation. If you did, he wouldn't get anywhere with you. So it's only got 7 levels, right? Which makes it very easy to use. You could ask yourself, what is my mother's motivation toward me? What is my father's motivation toward me? What is my brother's motivation toward me? What is my boyfriend's motivation toward me, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. For every person you know or have ever known, every time you get a correct answer, you'll have an insight. You'll say, oh, now I see why my mother behaves that way. She's at level 2 on the scale of motivation. That explains a lot. That explains why she says A, B, and C when I say D, E, and F. So you're having an insight.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you could also reverse the vector and do it the other way. What is my motivation toward Fred? What is my motivation toward my pastor? What is my motivation toward my boss, et cetera, et cetera? And you could do it again. You could do that for every person you know or have ever known. Now, by the time you finish this exercise, you would have had something like 500 insights.
Right.
So your mind on the subject of motivation will be greatly clarified. You'll be very good at spotting it, and you'll understand all these people a lot better.
Yeah.
Now remember, this is one scale. There are 35 scales, so you have to multiply this by 35.
Right.
So now let's say you've been dating a guy for 3 years
Okay.
and you're thinking about getting married. Wouldn't it make sense to ask, why does this guy want to marry me? Isn't that a sensible question?
Yeah, I would assume so.
Yeah. I'm not saying ask the guy. That could be a mistake. Just look in the book. You know this guy because you've been hanging out with him for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And there are only 7 levels, and they're very specific. All of this data is extremely specific. If a person is at level 1, he does this, 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 and this. If a person's at level 2, he does that, 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 and that. So
Mm-hmm.
you know the guy. You're going to get this. You go down, you study it. So, I see why he wants to marry me. He loves me. That's level 1 on the scale of motivation, the highest motive of all.
Yeah.
Well, maybe what doesn't happen. Maybe what happens is you say, now that I think about this, I think this guy wants to marry me because I drive a Lamborghini. I have a 60-foot yacht. I fly my own Learjet. I live in a $15 million condo and I have $8 million in the bank. See, that's a different motivation.
Right.
That's money. That's level 4 on the scale.
Yeah.
Okay. So now what you do with that is entirely up to you. You might look at it and say, okay, well, this is not the first guy I want to buy me for my money, but this guy is handsome, smart, educated, articulate, congenial, easy to get along with. So I'm going to marry him anyway. And you might live happily ever after, knowing his motivation is money.
Right.
But maybe you're not that type of person. Maybe you're the type of person who says, I don't want to marry somebody who wants to marry me for my money. I want to marry somebody who loves me for myself. And you break up with him. Now, don't think you're going to be upset about that. You're not. You're going to be relieved. You're going to say, thank God I figured this out now before I made a mistake. And when you go forward looking for the next guy, you're smarter. Maybe you don't even mention that you have a Lamborghini. See? Because you want to see if he loves you for yourself. So that's like an obvious way to use. I'm just sticking still with motivation, right? We're still on one scale. Now, let's say you own a car dealership and you need a new salesman. So you're interviewing guys, right? People tell you their levels. If you shut up and listen, they will tell you their levels. You're talking to this guy and it comes out in the conversation that this is a money-motivated person. Hire him. That's what you want. He gets a cut for every car he sells. He's going to be out there motivated to sell these cars.
Yeah.
Because he's money motivated. So you see, same scale, same level, different outcome. It depends on the context. See?
Yeah.
So that's sort of how you use this.
Do you
And
think
it's very user-friendly.
that people already inherently have that intuition about interactions with people, other people?
What intuition are you talking about?
Well, speaking on different motivations, like a lot of times I can feel those experiences with people that I'm interacting with without knowing the mathematics behind it.
Okay.
That's what I meant.
Let me say this. The beauty of Septemics is that it does not require intuition, telepathy, or anything else. It's all in the book. In other words, I have gotten it down to the exact level for each of these 7 levels for that scale. So every person is at some level on every scale.
For sure.
There are no exceptions.
Okay.
You, April, are at some level on every one of these scales. And if you were to analyze yourself across these, which will not be hard to do because you know who you are,
right,
you will have insights every time. So let's start with the first one, the scale of basic purposes. When you find your basic purpose, it is a life-changing moment. You will never be the same again. Because what happens is, of the 7, you throw out the other 6. You say, those are not for me. This is my purpose.
Right.
And so you will then have a concatenation of insights. That's why I did that. That's why I couldn't get along with Joe. That's why I fit in this job and not this. See, all on the basis of your basic purpose. But that's only one scale. You could do that with all 35 scales.
But that's my point is don't you think people have the inherent ability to have that awareness?
Well, all kinds of people have all kinds of inherent abilities. I mean, different people have different abilities,
For sure.
In fact, many people have abilities and other people don't even understand how they could have them.
Yeah.
They can't even figure it out. So like Monet, my favorite painter, he was a genius. If you actually study him, look at his paintings, nobody else painted like Monet. Nobody.
Yeah.
Nobody else could do it. So, of course, all kinds of people have all kinds of insights. That does not mean this material is not valuable.
Oh, right. No,
This
that's definitely
is-
not where I was going with that.
Right. This is a new subject.
Gotcha.
So you study this book the same way you would study a textbook on chemistry or physics or math or electronics or anything else. You start on line 1 and you say, does this make sense to me? Yes, I got it. Okay, go to line 2. Does this make sense? Yeah. When you get to a line that doesn't make sense, you stop.
This is literally the study of human development, like you said, and put into mathematics for a different understanding.
Right.
Got it.
So if you get to something that you don't understand, stop. Use the glossaries in the book. There are 36 glossaries in the book.
Yeah.
Use your dictionary. Talk to people. Ask questions. You can send me an email. What do you mean by this?
Yeah.
And then when you get it, then you go on to the next one. This is like when you're learning algebra or you're learning chemistry. If you don't know what a variable is, you can't learn algebra.
Yeah.
That's the first thing you have to know. Day one, the teacher says, we have a thing called a variable.
Mm-hmm.
We can call it whatever. We can call it X, we can call it Y, we can call it A. We
Mm-hmm.
don't know what value it is, and that's what we're going to try to figure out. See, you have to know that first.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how this subject is. It's developmental.
Yeah.
And it's not a coffee table book. If you skip around in this book, you will not get it.
Yeah. So it's something you have to really work through thoroughly.
Study it.
Yeah.
If you just follow the instructions in the book, it's not hard. Because I've been watching people get this for 30 years. Some version of this book has existed now for 30 years. People get it. You don't have to be a college graduate to understand this because of the way I wrote. I wrote it in such a way that would be comprehensible to people.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. So you've had a full career with a beautiful, expansive, analytical, logical mind. And how does that overlap into your spiritual side? Has that been easy? Is it a hard balance? Is it, I just want to know what that's been like for you.
Well, let me talk to you a little about polymathy. I'm a polymath.
Okay.
A polymath is someone who's learned in multiple disparate subjects.
Okay.
There are very few polymaths in our society
Okay.
because our education system militates against it. The whole point of graduate school is specialization.
Right.
So I have a friend who has a master's degree in biochemistry, pardon me, doctorate in biochemistry. He knows a lot about biochemistry more than I do, but I know more about everything else.
Yeah. Right.
I have another friend, he's got a master's degree from MIT in engineering. He knows engineering better than I do, but I know more about everything else.
Right.
That is what polymath is about. So I'm an expert on about 20 subjects.
Yeah. It's kind of like an umbrella term.
Right. If you want to interrogate me on math or chemistry or military science or political science or metaphysics, it's fine. You can do it. I'll answer your question. But the important thing is, eventually, all of this stuff melded in my mind into one thing.
Right.
So I have this holistic view of life and humanity. That is why I was able to figure this out.
Yeah.
There's always this question, like, how come Einstein was the first guy to find the theory of relativity? It was true before Earth existed.
Right.
Why wasn't it until 1905 that he got this? Okay, and that's like a story about the alternating current motor, Nikola Tesla.
Mm-hmm.
Before him, there was no alternating current. He said there has to be a better way to do this, and he thought it up in his mind, and then he just built it in 3 dimensions, and it worked.
Right.
So that's sort of what happened with me. But let me tell you the story of how I figured this out.
Yeah. Actually,
Because
I was going to ask.
in addition to being compelling, it tells you a lot about what it actually is.
Mm-hmm.
So the story really begins when I was accepted into engineering school at the age of 16.
Okay.
And of course, at the time, I thought I was going to be engineering physical things, airfoils, motors, electrons, and such, as did all the other engineering students. But by the time I had my bachelor's degree, a lot had happened, and it was clear to me that I wanted to engineer the human psyche because it is the area of greatest unknown, of greatest mystery, and more importantly, it is the area in which we as a race are failing miserably. 95% of the problems in industrialized society are because people don't understand people, don't understand the husband, don't understand the daughter, don't understand the mother, etc. This is a huge problem that everybody has, and this book solves it. It gives you a way to get a grip on this, to understand people well. So if you have a significant other, a boyfriend or a husband or whatever, I recommend, after you read this book, find his level on every scale. all 35 scales. And if you do that, you will understand him better than he understands himself. So he won't be a mystery to you. He won't be a problem to you. You will have insight. You'll be able to cope with him in a very effective way. So, needless to say, before you even do that, you should find your level on every scale. It's there. You are at some point on every scale. Now, you can ignore that data, but you do so at your own peril. So, to make a long story short, I had a long career as a human development engineer, where I brought engineering tactics, engineering strategies, engineering principles, engineering devices, engineering procedures, et cetera, to human development.
Mm-hmm.
So I worked with hundreds of clients of every description. They all improved as a result of our interaction. Incidentally, I started to notice that I could predict the outcome of the session. I didn't tell that to anybody, but I made notes.
Mm-hmm.
So as the decades rolled by, it became obvious to me that the client would be at a specific level on a specific scale that I had previously observed and recorded.
Mm-hmm.
And as a result of our interaction, he would go up to the next level on that scale. And he would be happy with that because it was a better state to be in.
Mm-hmm.
So by 1995, I had simply observed and recorded about 32 scales. There's no theory of septemics. This is all based on just direct observation that just fell out in front of me as a result of my work. There are specific reasons why it did, and I could explain those. But let me finish answering this question. So in 95, I had a difficult case. And I had this scale that had 6 levels that I knew was correct. And I was trying to figure out what level was this client at on this scale. I couldn't get an answer. This is the first time this has happened to me. And I thought, after a while, I thought, this scale has a 7th level. I had never witnessed this phenomenon before, and there are specific technical reasons for that I could explain to you if you want, why I never saw it before. But now that I saw it, instantaneously, I understood this client perfectly, retroactively, and going forward. And I also knew where that 7th level fitted into the 6th level scale. That was not a question. I knew right away where it fitted in. At that moment, when I inserted that 7th level into the 6th level scale, it went from being a line, which is what a scale is, to a plane, meaning a whole body of data, because all of these interlocking, intersecting, interacting mathematical data jumped out at me when I saw this. Now, for those of you who don't know math, that's what math is for. That is the whole idea. You start with a formula or an equation, and you coax data out of it. That is exactly how Einstein found E equals mc squared. He did it by math. We know because he gave it to us. We know his math. So everybody in the math and physics community understands how that was done.
Mm-hmm.
So when you get something at the end, like he got down to the end and he got E equals mc squared. E equals mc squared. That is a conversion ratio for energy to matter. That changes everything. And the ratio is c squared. You see how he suddenly said, wow.
Yeah, I mean, I can speculate, but no, I'm not the math person, so this means nothing to me. I'm just like,
Right.
okay,
I'm
I just trust your
you,
word. I'm just like, okay.
right. That's what math is for.
Right.
So everybody in the science and math and engineering community is like this. We're all
Right.
like this.
Right.
Okay. So that's not unusual, but I suddenly saw this table, which appeared before me instantaneously. I said, whoa, I found something. Whatever the hell this thing is, it has to be natural law because it's got math embedded in it.
Mm-hmm.
And anything that has math embedded in it is natural law. Like, for example, the Fibonacci sequence.
Mm-hmm.
So I then said, I wonder how many of these other scales I have might also actually be 7-level scales that had not yet been developed all the way. Because you have to realize I wasn't developing anything. I was just helping my clients and making notes.
Yeah.
So now, knowing what I was looking for, I inspected all these scales. And in a short period of time, each of them went to 7 levels. And when it did, it manifested mathematically. So now I had 32 7-level scales corresponding to 32 different areas of human phenomena.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I think I found a new subject because I went to school for 28 years. I never saw anything like this.
Right.
So then my next thought was, wait a minute. I could go from helping people by the hundreds, which is what I have been doing as human development engineer,
Mm-hmm.
to helping people by the millions if I put this in a book and get it out so people can have this data and use it. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to have to write a book.
Mm-hmm.
First draft was finished in December of 95, and I immediately sent it out in a transcript form to colleagues of mine, all of whom had graduate degrees in a variety of subjects, in differing subjects.
Mm-hmm.
And they all loved it. They had differing responses, but very positive responses. And that told me this is exactly what I thought it was, which is a new subject that people would get. People get this. This is not obscure. Just from what little I know about you in the last 10 minutes, you would understand this material.
Okay.
So I then said, well, if I'm going to present this to mankind, I need to work on this. And I then spent the next 25 years of my life writing this book. Because first I had to discover the phenomena, and I pretty much already have explained how that happened. Although you have to realize, after I would see it in session, I would go out into the real world, like maybe to a baseball game, and I would see exactly the same thing. I'd
Mm-hmm.
see two guys talking to one another, and I could see that these guys were on this level on this scale, or
Mm-hmm.
on these differing levels on this scale. And every time I saw it, either in session or out of session, it verified my hypothesis because these people had no idea what I was doing. They
Mm-hmm.
had no idea what I was thinking. They weren't seeing the biofeedback I was seeing. All my clients knew is they came to me with an unwanted condition or a problem or a dilemma or something, and they said, "Can you help me with this?" I said, "Yes," and I did. So the insights that they had were on the subject. Like, let's say you have a guy who has trouble keeping jobs, right? He gets fired a lot, right? So I work with him. He has a big realization. Oh, now I understand why I lose my job. It's because blah, 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 blah. See, he just figured that out.
Mm-hmm.
So that's because he got to a higher level on a certain scale.
Mm-hmm.
So he actually got smarter in the session. That is what this book does to you because every time you correctly spot a level, you have an insight.
Yeah.
You get smarter.
So it's basically like I'm going to provide you um, some perspectives or from framework for higher awareness.
I don't know what you mean by you're going to provide me. You
I
don't
mean your
need me to
book.
use this book.
No,
You
I mean
don't
your
need it.
book. I mean
Yeah,
your book. Yeah.
you do it to yourself.
Right. That's what I
You
mean.
get the book. Right. You get the book.
Right. That's what I
You
mean.
look at
So
it.
like you read the book and it provides
Yes.
like the framework for a higher awareness, a
You
higher,
will find yourself willy-nilly on these levels.
right. Yeah.
Necessarily. Like you open the scale of basic purposes. You
Mm-hmm.
say, basic purpose. It says right in there, every human has one of 7 basic purposes. Oh, I guess that includes me. I wonder what mine is. And you're reading it, and you'll get down to it. Oh, this describes me perfectly. I'm at level 4. And you'll have many realizations, not just one. You might have weeks of realizations. That explains why I broke up with Fred 17 years ago. That explains why I do well in this subject, but not this subject. That explains why when I do this, my mother does that. You'll have all of these insights based on that one correct spotting of it.
Mm-hmm.
But remember, there are 35 levels, 35 scales. So you could do this with all, you go to the next one, personal influence. Yeah, how do I influence people personally? And there's only 7 choices in every one, which makes it an easy choice. It's not like you're
Can I
selecting
ask
from
you a
one of
question
seven.
about that?
Yes.
You talk about there's only 7 levels, or it makes it an easy choice, but do people ever experience reading those levels and going, oh, I'm actually functioning out of 2 of these or 3 of these at this multiple of these at the same time? Like, does that happen? Is there a glossary that covers that?
First of all, it's absolutely impossible to be at more than one level at any particular point in time.
Why so? Is it just
Because
based on the mathematics? Is that what you mean?
you're at that level. It's like you're driving your car. You're at
Hmm.
4th Street and Main. That is where you are. You look at the GPS. That's it.
Okay.
Now you can wish you're at 3rd Street in Maine, but you're not. You're at
Hmm.
4th Street in Maine. That's what this is like. It's like
Hmm.
a GPS
It's
unit
more
tells you,
absolute.
yes,
Gotcha.
yes. It's absolute. It's
Hmm.
natural law. It's
Gotcha.
like the Pythagorean theorem. Remember the first time you saw the Pythagorean theorem? You were maybe 12,
Nope, sure don't.
12 or 13.
Couldn't
You
tell you.
don't, you don't remember it at all.
Nope,
Okay.
nothing.
Well, did you graduate high school?
Yeah, I went to college.
Okay. Okay. So somewhere in there, maybe we were in the 8th grade or the 9th grade, the teacher brought out this thing called the Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared, in a
Oh
right.
yeah, so now I recognize that. I
Okay,
just
and
don't
you learned it,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It was not hard to learn that. You know why? It's natural law. It makes perfect sense. She just says to you, yeah, well, if you have a right triangle, right? There's a 90-degree angle here, and one side is 3, the other one is 4. The third one is going to be 5, period. There's
Mhm.
no discussion. Okay? It's just like a tulip and a rose. This is a tulip and this is a rose. It's not an opinion.
Right.
It's either, now, every tulip is unique and every rose is unique. But I don't know about you, but I can always tell the difference between a tulip and a rose.
Sure.
They're very different. And when you study this material, that's what happens.
Mhm.
So you're looking for a guy to date, right? You want him to have certain traits or not, right? You don't want somebody who's at or near the bottom of any of these scales.
Mhm.
Trust me. When you read the book, you'll see all of the problems in society, all are caused by people at or near the bottom of the scale. Like,
So can I ask what's the
yeah,
most misunderstood level of the scales? Is there a very misunderstood?
there's no answer to that question because, as I said, every scale is unique. You cannot learn anything about scale A by studying scale B. Each one of these scales is independent, and there are no generalities. No generalities apply here, which is what engineering is about. In
Mhm.
science and engineering and math, no generalities are allowed. Now, you can have an estimate. Engineers use estimates 7 days a week because it fits the context. For example, if we're looking at a circle, we have this number pi, which means approximately 3.14.
Right.
Now, for many calculations, that's enough. But if you want it to be really precise, you use 3.416. That's
Okay.
100 times more precise. So estimates are fine, they're part of engineering. But even with this, you don't have to really estimate because I'm giving you the data.
Yeah.
I'm giving it to you. If you look at a rainbow, every rainbow that has ever existed, it's red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet.
Mhm.
That's the only way it can occur. If you understand light and what makes a rainbow, there is no other possible way. You cannot get to green without going through yellow.
Right.
It's the same thing here. So
So then
this
that
is
means,
very precise, and its precision is what makes it useful to you.
okay, and so then that would mean to say also that since it's so absolute, my other questions are pretty much null and void. So so there's that. So where can people find your book? You said it's on your website. Do I have that information? I do. I think I do have it in the
Yes,
shop form.
septemics.com.
Okay.
SEPTEMS.
Do you have a copy of it with you? So just to show us what it looks like?
You mean the book?
Yes. Perfect. Thank you. Perfect. Perfect.
So I would invite your viewers to my website because you'll be able to see what many readers have said about it,
Hmm.
what many journalists have written about it. You can see the reviews. you can read sections of the book itself. And there's even a pre-recorded audio entitled Introduction to Septemics that explains it to a new person in 15 minutes.
Perfect.
If you do all that, you're probably going to want to buy the book.
Have you ever,
which is available in hardbound, softbound, and ebook.
have you ever considered making these lessons available on YouTube, like teaching it?
They
in
are
class?
available on YouTube.
Okay.
There are over 1,000 videos of me on all over the internet discussing this.
Perfect.
And not only discussing it in a general way, which is what we're doing, but there are many interviews where I discuss specific scales, where I put the scale up on the screen. Because when you see it, you get it. You get it. You know why? It's natural law. Nobody argues against Newton's 3 laws of motion because they're natural law. When we get to advanced planets, I guarantee you, they're going to have the Pythagorean theorem. They're going to have Newton's 3 laws of motion. They're going to have the periodic table, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You know why? Because you cannot advance in these subjects until you have those things. So if they're advanced planets and they have space travel, they're going to have all of that. They're going to have their version of the periodic table. And when they look at ours and we look at theirs, we will immediately have a point of discussion because we can translate it. And we'll be able to talk to them very soon.
Yeah, like your points of reference will somehow be very similar. So
yes, identical.
Yeah.
Again, the periodic table doesn't vary because you're in another solar system.
Right. Gotcha.
It's going to be the same. So we call it hydrogen. They call it Charigny, Bob. Okay, we just translate it.
There you go. Yeah.
So, and you just keep doing that. And the more words you translate, the easier it is to communicate, and it just feeds on itself like that, you know.
Yeah.
So that's actually much easier than going to, let's say, some desert island where there's these primitive people and they have some language. And where do you start? You
Yeah.
know, it's like, I guess you can point at your hat and say hat, 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 but maybe they don't even have hats.
Yeah.
You know, so this is really useful because it's precise,
Yeah.
specific, and correct.
Gotcha.
And a lot of trouble making sure this was correct. I would never have released it if I were not absolutely sure that these scales are correct. Now, I could see someone quibbling with what word I used in a specific, you know, like, for example, the scale of sexuality. Level 2 on the scale of sexuality, if we look it up in the book, says take it or leave it. You know why I call it that? Everybody knows what that means. In other words, there's people, not too many of us, but there are people who their attitude about sex is just take it or leave it. I mean, if the girl says yes, that's good. And if she says no, that's good too. He can take it or leave it.
Right.
That's a level. Most people never get to that level. But that's why I called it that. So it's easy to understand. So I went through a lot of trouble to make this comprehensible to the average reader of English. And the way you experience this book, it's like putting on your eyeglasses and looking at yourself in a clean mirror. You see yourself clearly. Or putting on your glasses and looking at your spouse. You see him more clearly now. And you get data that's very specific. And that's useful. It's not vague. Now, you may have some difficulty working with certain things because you don't understand the word or you don't know the person well enough. Usually the big problem is not knowing the person well enough. Like, for example, there are people I only know in a specific context, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't know where they are on every scale, but I know where they are on certain scales.
Right.
Because those are ones that are relevant.
Yeah. Which is a beautiful discovery to have this map of
Yes.
Insight for others to learn from. Yeah.
Yes.
It's a very beautiful discovery. So can I ask you one last question? Where were you in 1995 when all of this kind of came up for you? Like what kind of transformations were you going in your own life when these kind of patterns started to emerge for you?
Well, there's a couple of ways I can answer that.
Okay.
One way to answer it is to say I wasn't going through any transformations. I was just doing my normal work and, but you have to realize the way this developed, right? Starting early on in my career as human development engineer, in my 20s,
Yeah.
I started to see that I could predict the outcome of the session. And that told me something in here was predictable.
Right.
I didn't know what it was. But if I could predict the outcome of the session, there's something like tangible in there that I could predict, that I was able to ferret out. Well, by 1995, I had this day when I told you about, I had the 6th level scale, and I
Right.
discovered it has 7th level. I said,
Yeah.
yeah, this is more than I thought it was. It's not just a scale, it's a whole body of data about the scale. And so that's what that was really the birthplace of Septemics, because that prompted me to look at all the other scales. And then I saw them all go to 7 levels, and I said, whoa, there's something here.
Yeah.
So, a lot of people know about 7. The rainbow has got 7 colors, the 7 chakras correspond to the 7 colors of the rainbow. There's a lot of 7 stuff in literature and this is just another part of it. But I was not looking for that.
Yeah.
Now, another way I can answer your question is I meditated on a daily basis for over 40 years. Each session made me better able to do it.
Right.
So I was progressing on a geometric basis, not arithmetic, geometric, where I would leap ahead, leap ahead, leap ahead. And so the meditation got easier and easier and deeper and farther out. So in a sense, even back then, I was experiencing transformation.
Yeah.
So, but as far as how I discovered it in 95, it was just that moment where I had the 6th level skill and I realized it had a 7th level because there was a phenomenon that I had never seen before.
Yeah.
And it fitted right in.
Yeah. It was like
And
your little missing puzzle piece.
right. Then that's when the whole table jumped out at me. Whoa, this is not just a scale. This is a table of data. So if you go to, let's say, thought, the scale of thought, there are 7 levels of thought. This is extremely valuable information. Trust me, when you read this, you will see how valuable this is for people you want in your life and people you don't want in your life, according to how they think.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have people and it just seems like you don't know you can't figure out why they're thinking what they're thinking, why they're concluding what they're concluding. It's like,
yeah, you definitely bump into people that you're not relatable to and that you're at different, definitely different frequencies altogether. So
different levels on the scales.
yeah, for sure.
And when you get it, it's very specific.
Yeah.
So this explains why you can get along with this guy on A, B, C, and D, but when it comes to E, you can't.
Yeah.
Like, for example, on the scale of sexuality, if somebody is at level 5 on the scale of sexuality, that level, look it up in the book, it says can't have sex. Those are people who can't have sex. Sometimes I know somebody, a friend of mine, brilliant, beautiful woman, single woman, right? She has no relationship in her life. I know this because we're friends, right? I figured out she's at level 5 on the scale of sexuality. I didn't tell that to anybody, and I never will. That explains it perfectly. And then I understood exactly what. So there would be no possibility of us having a relationship. There would be no possibility of anybody having a relationship with this woman. It can't be done because she's at level 5.
And is that the same level that you think would describe people that are like monks or nuns or practicing
Not
things?
necessarily. Not
Okay.
necessarily. The highest level on that scale is no need for sex.
Okay. So like for the vows of celibacy.
Yeah, well, you see people who are in ashrams or rectories or monasteries,
Yeah.
and they have no need for sex. They're
Right.
fine.
Yeah.
I studied with the Society of Jesus for 4 years, and they all take vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience. These were the most elite people I had ever known at that time. I don't know if you know anything about the Jesuits. They are the intellectuals of the Catholic Church. and have been so for hundreds of years.
Mhm.
So I absolutely looked up to these guys, all of them.
Yeah.
I mean, they had different areas of expertise, but they're all, each in his own way was better than anybody I had ever met
Yeah.
prior to that.
Yeah.
Well, these were handsome, congenial, witty guys.
Yeah.
Millions of women would want to marry these guys. You
Mhm.
know, I knew these people well. They became my friends. They obviously didn't have a need for it. They were at level 1.
Mhm.
Or they might be at level 2, which is take it or leave it.
Mhm.
It's not the same as level 1. There's no need. No need. They don't need it. Level 2, there's a need, but they can take it or leave it.
Can I ask you a question? I know you said this is absolute, so I'm trying to wrap my mind around, any give in any of these levels, but my question is going to pertain to me. What about somebody that had a strong history of sex and then I decided to be celibate as well? What is that, a level change, or how can you describe that?
It suggests a level change.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Because when a person changes level, his demeanor and his behavior changes. It's observable.
Right.
7 of these scales have, if you look at the scale, you'll see it's got a plus or a minus next to it, plus, minus, plus, minus, plus, minus down through the 7. And
Okay.
what that means is plus means reaching, and which is something you can do, and minus is inflowing, meaning withdrawing.
Mhm.
All you can do is reach or withdraw. There are no
Mhm.
other choices.
Mhm.
So when you have a scale that has that built into it, in order to go to the next level, you have to reverse polarity.
Yeah.
In Asian philosophy, which is one of my areas of expertise, they've known about this for many centuries.
Yeah.
I was at a place once and I was talking to a guy who had been working with me, and he says, "Wow, it sounds like you're reversing polarity." And this is before I had really figured all this out. And I thought, yeah, I am. And he was right. I
Mhm.
was reversing polarity. It's
Yeah.
a big deal. Big deal. So some of these scales are persistent traits, and some of them are more volatile. For example, the scale of evaluation, people change on that by the minute or by the hour.
Okay.
You can watch somebody change on that scale.
Okay.
So let's say you take a guy, you say, look, I'm going to vote for this guy. Come, listen to him speak. So he goes, he never heard of this guy before, right? Right? So after you leave, you say, what'd you think? He says, boy, I can see why you're going to vote for this guy. He went up on the scale of evaluation from neutral to acceptance. He jumped a level.
Mhm. And you
Whereas
said you said with your math you can also sort of predict those.
once you know somebody's level, you can predict what they're going to do.
Gotcha.
It's not hard to tell. For
Yeah.
example, I met a woman. I'm a single guy. I met a lot of women. I met a woman some years ago. There was obviously a tremendous amount of affinity between us. I mean, we became like instant buddies. So
Mhm.
there was like this little talk about, well, maybe we should have a relationship time. Eventually, I figured out she was at level 5 on the scale of sex.
Mhm.
Can't have sex.
Yeah.
That's why she's a single woman. When you have a smart, congenial person like that who has no relationship, she's at level 5, can't have sex.
Mhm.
That's not that far down. There's a lot of people there,
Mhm.
a lot of people at that level. See, now if she goes up to level 4, she'll be ready
Mhm.
because level 4 is can have sex. So if
Yeah.
she comes up to that, she says, I'm ready now.
Yeah.
And
And
maybe she'll
then
call me up. But
if you'll be compatible on more levels.
that's right.
Yeah.
There's a lot of reasons to stick with people or not stick with people. And I'll give you an example. I have a buddy who's what I would call a political extremist.
Okay.
Scale of politics. I say in that chapter, all the trouble is caused by the extremists. Extremists are the people who become terrorists,
Okay.
assassins, commit bribery,
Mhm.
blackmail, fixing elections. That's what extremists do. Normal people don't do that, right?
Yeah.
So I know this guy's a political extremist. Now, I've been friends with this guy for decades. This is a beautiful guy. He's smart. He's funny. He's kind. He has a family, But when politics comes to politics, I'm not going to deal with it because I know he's an extremist. So, see, my knowing this preserves the relationship. Because when he starts going, rah, 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 Donald Trump, I say, by the way, how's your son? Oh, he's fine. What's he doing? Well, he lives in Montana now. Really? Did he buy a house? Yeah, tell me. We're away from Donald Trump.
Yeah.
So I preserve the relationship that way.
Yeah. By knowing what's coming and redirecting.
And not allowing it to sabotage the relationship.
Yeah.
A lot of guys would get into an argument. What do you mean? And that's the end of the relationship.
Yeah.
I don't want to end my relationship with this guy.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of different ways that can occur. Like I told you about some women I know who are like it can't have sex. They're still my friends. They're still beautiful people. They just can't have sex. Okay, that's fine. It's, you know. So, but there are a lot of people who are low on other scales. And I'll give you an example. I met a blonde a year ago who was gorgeous. We really liked one another right from the beginning. And so now we're going through the usual getting to know you stuff. What kind of movies do you like? What kind of restaurants do you go to, right?
Yeah.
And I noticed that she was low on a certain scale. So I just made a mental note. So now we had another similar conversation, where'd you live before you were in law? And I know, oh, she's low on this other scale. Well, when we had another conversation, and she's low on this other scale. So wait a minute. I barely know this woman, and I have already determined that she's at or near the bottom of 3 scales. That tells me from my knowledge of this subject, if I were to look at all of them, she's probably going to be at or near the bottom of 12 or 15 scales. That is not somebody I'm going to get involved with.
Yeah, you're not compatible.
I don't care. It's not a matter of compatibility. It's a matter of preservation, self-preservation.
Right.
This
Which is still recognizing whether or not you can be compatible.
Okay. I mean, you could say you're compatible on certain scales and not compatible on others. The point is this. The point is this. We did not have a fight. We did not have an argument. We did not have a disagreement. Nothing like that happened.
Yeah.
I just went to her the next time I saw her. I said, you're a lovely person. I like you very much. Pass.
Right. So you just use it as very valuable information.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now think about this. Think about all the money I saved on $100 dinners that I did.
Oh God, yeah.
Think about how many evenings I saved of going out with a person who was going to go nowhere, right?
Yeah.
I mean, think about all the aggravation, because when you have a relationship that goes sour, it's aggravating, right? There's one way or another, it's going to be aggravating to you.
Well, right. So it's much quicker at obtaining the lessons learned.
Yes, exactly. And the lesson learned is,
move on.
What level is this person at?
Yeah.
That is the lesson.
Yeah.
Multiply by 35.
Yeah.
Now, you don't have to know all 35.
Yeah.
Sometimes I bump into a guy and I could see this guy is at or near the bottom of a particular scale. We're done.
Yeah.
I just thank you very much. Have a nice day. Goodbye.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
So to be frank, when I was a young man, this data didn't exist. I hadn't discovered it yet. So I made the same stupid mistakes that everybody else makes.
Yeah.
Now in my life, that cannot happen, does not happen, will not happen, because I know this material. And it's, if you shut up and listen, people will tell you their levels.
Yeah. People always tell you who they are, for sure. Jim, I don't want to cut you off, but I have to cut you off.
Right.
Yeah. So is there anything else that you want to offer the audience before we hop off of here?
Well, and just to bring this into focus, I would say that the data in this book is vital for every person and can help you to achieve your goals faster and easier by explaining what might otherwise seem to be inexplicable or random.
Perfect. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Jim. I think this is a beautiful discovery that you've gotten to put into practice and share with the world for so many others to do the same.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for being here. I'm just going to say bye to the audience. Bye, you guys. See you next time. Thank you for joining Own Your Essence. I am beyond grateful to our guests for sharing their wisdom and to you, our listeners, for being part of this journey toward healing and empowerment. If today's conversation resonated with you, please feel free to subscribe, leave a review, and share this space with others who might need it. If you have questions, topic ideas, want to be a guest, or would like to work with me privately, send an email. I'd love to hear from you.